Okay, Shane, you've read Charlie's question.
Okay, Charlie, number 2 on the list today. Charlie's question is a little bit convoluted. It's conflating a few things. He was asking originally why I, in November to Remember, did the arm injury begin there with the crutch shot from Bam Bam, that I wasn't really able to celebrate as much afterwards, and then why I left ECW, and then it'll go into a second part. So the first part of that, Charlie, was the crutch shot from Bam Bam was not that was done to set up the post for me having the surgery after. Ironically, Bammer also needed to have some surgery. He was, passing blood and things, and having been a diabetic, they had to go in and check some things out and get ahead of it for Bammer. So we did the thing where I would power bomb him onto the chairs, and if you see he comes up because he's holding his back. That was because that he would have to have surgery and I would have to have surgery. The original injury for me happened in Allentown when you've all heard the story about Rick Rude running me and Francine off after wrestling Tommy and Beulah, and the fan attacking me. When the fan attacked me, my security guy, Big Joe, the 6'7" guy with Atlas Security, came over. They were taught to bear hug us with our arms down so that we couldn't even inadvertently hit somebody if we wanted to. And as I was being kicked by this guy in the ribs, Joe instinctively turned me around. So I was pinned with my arms like this, bent over the railing, my head like into the aisleway and my body facing the crowd. The guy continued to kick and caused the damage to the elbow initially that would get worse and worse as I went on. My doctor had tried 6 previous surgeries with what's called a keyhole arthrotomy. They don't like to go in the front of the arm because the nerves and the blood vessels are mostly towards the front. And so what's called a keyhole arthrotomy, imagine the doctor doing this, he would cut a nickel-sized hole in the back of the radius. And then, like a bone looking like that at the end, right at the turbuncle. And then he would reach through that hole and sort of work on the other side of the wall, which would really be, I think, really, just drive you nuts because you don't have freedom like that. The last surgery, the 7th surgery that I had with that particular doctor, I ended up having 2 more after with another doctor. He said that he's going to try it again through the keyhole, but if he can't get it, he's going to have to open the front. And he said, I would know when I woke up if I was in a cast. And of course I was when I woke up. And cut that cast off, and 3 days later, Taz was German suplexing me in the arena. Not the smartest thing for the kids out there that get injured in our business. Don't fall into the line like my generation did of, hey, you got to go make your shots and do all that, which is insane. For somebody that's been accepted to medical school, and I listened to myself say that, I think, like, what a dumbass I was. But, we were imbued, we loved the industry. So, especially in ECW. Why I left ECW was I was getting strung along. The amount of money that I was owed kept growing. And I had originally told Paul, like, hey, if money's tight, take care of the Chettys and the Dorings and the Roadkills and those guys, because I had enough saved that I could last out, not indefinitely. And when it got to 140,000 plus, it really did make my mind up for me. And Paul had pretty much pushed me out the door. He had Bob Ryder tell me that there was no plane ticket for me, and that if I knew what was best for me, and, again, he's played my personality. And anybody knows that if somebody comes and says, hey, if you know what's good for you, you better this or that. That I don't usually respond well to that kind of stuff. Why I went to WCW was simple, economics. Bischoff had offered me an exponentially better deal than WWF did. Excuse me, and those were the 2 places you could make money, or, the 3 places, ECW, WCW, and WWF. And I didn't really want to go on the Japanese, 8 tours a year thing. So it was an easy pick. Plus the idea that his exact words to me, he wanted to be the one that brought Flair Douglas to television. And so that was why I went to WCW. You mentioned in the question that I looked like I was a little more agile in WCW. Well, I obviously could do those things in ECW, but again, it was a different style. And so like the ground and pound style sort of became the franchise's go-to. And honestly, as any wrestler will tell you, as you start getting into your 30s and early 40s, it's a lot easier to go the ground and pound and the certainty of it. The franchise character was always meant to be a great wrestler. I just abhor when I see the baby or the heel that's punches somebody in the mouth and he goes, oh, don't hit me back, I'm scared, I'll run for my life. That to me is like that's a caricature heel. That's the Snidely Whiplash type heel, which if you don't know, just look it up, Snidely Whiplash. there was very much intent. Flair had made his earlier career by being a machine in the ring, the 60-minute man. And so by going there and challenging the Nature Boy, I wanted to make sure that the franchise character in WCW in some ways resembled that younger Flair. And so that was a conscious decision to do that. And the final point is just reality. As you get older, especially in this business, and you think by the time you're 40, 45 years old, how many bumps you've taken in your career, how many repetitions at the gym have you done? Repetition and those things are what wear the joints down. And so, and I'm sure if you've been following wrestling, you hear wrestlers talk about the bump tank. You're born, every one of us, with a certain amount of bumps in us. I might have more than, say, an AJ Styles or Christopher Daniels, and they may have more than, say, a Ray Mysterio, or less. It's just where it is. But Terry Funk had said to me a long time ago, you hear other old timers saying this, when that tank is empty, there's no gas station to go refill it. So start to use those big bumps judiciously. Be smart about where you take them. And the final part of the question with Charlie was about why, when all this mix-up was going on, in WCW. A second ago, or maybe in another episode, I talked about the politics of wrestling. And by that time, my God, this place had become, Peyton Place. It was basically Booker du jour. Like, who's the Booker today? Like, who's going to push their stuff today? You would literally see people coming in. They had a whiteboard, for each TV taping. It had, I think, 3 tapes that have all the matches listed up on each one. And as the day would go on, you would see different people not in the office walk up and take the eraser and erase 2 or 3 and write other names in there. And somebody had been wrestling at that point for a little while, looking at that, I've never seen that. Like, can I go up there and erase some if I want to and just put them in there? I never wanted to. I always wanted to make sure I supported whoever was booking, because like Dusty Rhodes had taught me and us in UWF years before, only the booker has the full picture in their head. And so once you're in concert with the booker, usually you're in a better position politically if you're supporting what the booker's doing. Bischoff and Russo both, I have key differences with both of their booking styles, and I'm sure they'd have differences with my style of booking. It doesn't make me right, them wrong, or vice versa. I think both of them had brought assets. Bischoff was more, I think, this is going to really greatly generalize, but Bischoff, I think, was more like in the Vince McMahon mode, like entertainment, bigger and, more extravagant. Russo was more in those nuanceical storyline traits, that would even get silly at times, like the Viagra on a pole match, which I didn't agree with. But again, like I said, support the booker. I supported that because ultimately that's what Russo wanted, and I never wanted to be seen as the guy that said, well, Shane refused to do these things, and so it threw the whole storyline off, which is also a discussion we'll have at another time on the podcast here. My relationship with Bill Goldberg, great relationship. I get along great with Bill. I thought Bill had a lot of assets, but there will be a part 2 to this question, or part 2 as far as the answer goes, Charlie, when I get to that point of talking about the thing with Bill Goldberg in WCW. But great question. Keep them coming.